Come and Take It versus Don't Tread on Me. You pick Come and Take It, which is one of Texas's first flags.
Yeah, Battle of Gonzales. It's one of those things. I always appreciate the Texas history because American history. We won our independence because of things that were being done to us, and you have to appreciate those guys and their resolve and resilience to say we're not going to take this anymore. But you had these folks, these peasants, these villagers, these Texians, if you will, in the city of Gonzales, and they had a cannon that didn't even work anymore. And when the Mexicans said, "Hey, we want that cannon back," they were like, "Screw you! You come take it. You're not getting our, non-functioning cannon. I mean, this is our one phallic symbol that shows our power. If you want it, come and get this thing." So I love that attitude that the Texians had in regard to that.
Yeah, no, it is an awesome history. And I do like to compare and contrast because we joke about it, but we're almost kind of sort of serious, that Texas is its own country and we're proud of
Yeah.
Texas having been its own country at one point in time. In Texas and, in the news has certainly been, shaking things up, whether it's been abortion, what else, our gun laws.
Well, I mean, if you turn on the television, if you go to the news, you're going to see the images. If they're talking about border security and they're talking about open borders, you're going to see the Texas border.
Right.
They're not talking about New Mexico, Arizona, or California's southern border, and all three of those have it. They're going to talk about Texas because I believe that Texas has a target on its back because of that attitude that Texas has of that come and take it attitude, that humble arrogance with everything bigger in Texas. The size, the economy, the privilege, the power, the sense of identity that we have here in Texas. I see Texas kind of as the anchor that America's holding on to right now in terms of what made America great originally. And so Texas is that last bastion of freedom that has the ability to kind of put America back on track if America wants to be on that track. And Texas basically kind of gives that middle finger and says, if you don't want to be on the right track, that's fine. We'll run on that track. We don't need you. And so that kind of that attitude, I kind of, you got to love that, especially if you love liberty and a sense of independence and freedom.
Yeah, I certainly do. And I think people are starting to get it. Hence the reason why we have so many people moving. We have thousands of people moving here every day to the great state of Texas or the great country of Texas. And what do you think about that California invasion?
Well, it depends on what part of California is coming. I know a lot of individuals and a lot of families who are getting out of the cesspool, which is California. California is a reasonably good state, right? It's a beautiful place. The weather's great. The people are beautiful. It's got beautiful country. It's the number one state in America for agriculture and ranching. But they're being screwed by bureaucracy, right? So if you define it by the big cities, that's problematic. But they're starting to come out because they do have conservative values and they feel like their liberties are being taken away from them and they're being taxed to death and there's no freedom in California. I welcome those folks to Texas. The problem that I have is when you start bringing in the Teslas and the Amazons and the Googles and the Facebooks and you start turning Texas like Travis County, Austin, you start turning it into a miniature Silicon Valley. Because it brings with it not only their money and their influence and their people, but it brings their ideologies, and that becomes problematic for me. And I think when people say "Don't California my Texas," that's what they're truly referring to.
Yeah, I agree, and I have to back that up with it's at the end of the day, California is where it's at because of how they vote. So as long as they don't bring the same voting logic to Texas, then Texas will be okay. But if they start voting exactly the same way they did in California, then we will end up in the same boat. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, so, back to my earlier point about Texas having the size and economy to put America back on track. California has the size and economy, but they're not going to do it. I mean, they've gone, as I say, my book, as you referred to earlier, an unapologetic patriot takes on the insanity of today's woke world. California's gotten so woke and so open-minded that their brains have spilled out. And, you've got, Sacramento and San Diego and San Francisco, LA, San Diego, that's what you think of when you think of of California. You don't think of the Bakersfields and the Reddings. You don't think of the Vesalias and those places out there. And even San Luis Obispo. Those places where the wine country, that people, they still get their hands dirty when they go to work every day. We don't think about those parts of California as much. We just think about that urban sprawl that's out there, and now we think about this big blue, crazy, wide open cesspool of wokeism that California's become, because it's been defined by Hollywood and a weird hierarchy of nepotistic government there out of Sacramento with the Pelosi's and the Newsoms and so on and so forth. So, man, I hope that doesn't happen in Texas, but I got a feeling that if we don't do something quick about it, the government here in Texas has gotten so big that it's starting to mirror that in a lot of ways. And unfortunately, we're kind of headed the same way, because our big cities, whether it's Dallas, Fort Worth, El Paso, San Antonio, Houston, Austin, those are big blueberries and a big bowl of red chili, right? So, they would love nothing more than to see Texas kind of become a purplish to blue state in a big way, because again, they don't like these dissenters like us Texans.
Yeah, no doubt.
I joke about it, but it's true. Texas is a spirit, right? It's more than a zip code or a geography. It's more than a border or a place on the map. It's a spirit, and I tell people, you can't teach that spirit. It's not taught, it's caught. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you get it, you've got it. It's very contagious. And I remember coming hunting out here like 25 years ago, and I said to a friend of mine in Texas, I said, the funny thing about you Texans, I said, you guys would rather be Texans than Americans. And I kind of said it tongue in cheek, but he just stared at me like real serious. He goes, don't fuck around and find out. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I've learned that over the years. I mean, that's true. There is that spirit that says, look, we're not messing around here. Texas first. And that really does become the kind of the mantra here. So I hope when people move to Texas, they know what they're getting into, because they're up against a pretty large legacy here.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's something you're born and bred with here, and you're very proud of it. And you can drive the streets and you'll see the biggest flags waving in this state than any other state. And it's both the American flag and the Texas flag. And I tell people that being a Texan and being proud of it is a higher level of American patriotism, without a doubt. It is the next level up. It's not cutting away America. It's that highest order of patriotism is Texanism. You're listening to Can You Survive This Podcast? Thanks for tuning in. Please make sure to subscribe, rate, and share on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite shows.